Have you heard this before? Taylor Swift is a psyop to get you to support Joe Biden.
Can you confirm or deny that there is an active conspiracy between you and Miss Swift?
Where are you getting this information?
Taylor Swift is the biggest pop star on the planet right now and a self-proclaimed Democrat. And she's also very, very anti-Trump. But is Joe Biden's team trying to use her in a covert conspiracy to get him re-elected? Apparently, nearly 1 in 5 Americans believe such a conspiracy does exist.
It's classified.
It's classified information?
That's classified
You won't share it with us?
I'm not gonna, but I will tell you, she did endorse me in 2020.
She did. I bet you might be wondering. You think it might come around again?
I told you it's classified.
A lot of people online refer to it as the Taylor Swift Psyop. Now, Psyop is short for psychological operation, a practice aimed at influencing and changing people's minds. So in this case, winning over voters to Joe Biden. Given that she has over 500 million followers across social media, she certainly has the reach, particularly with young women.
Taylor Swift comes out against Trump.
I don't care if they write that. I'm sad that I didn't 2 years ago, but I can't change that. I'm saying right now that this is something that I know is right, and you guys, I need to be on the right side of history.
Donald Trump likes my music 25% less.
Here's where other
Note how Republicans are attacking Taylor Swift's intelligence instead of her ideas. They don't respect women enough to debate them.
Well, it's not true.
And Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce, has just won the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs and is a so-called progressive too, taking a knee, supporting BLM, and promoting Pfizer's vaccines.
Ask about getting this season's COVID-19 shot when getting your flu shot.
So, can Taylor Swift and other celebrities affect the way the public thinks and votes? That's exactly what we asked them.
Do you think that celebrities should be involved in politics?
No, I don't, and I don't think they should use their fan base or their fame to obviously try and influence people and stuff. I don't think that I don't agree with that. No.
Celebrities' endorsements are important, but they don't affect my political views or my political decisions. So I think this about Taylor Swift is a hoax. So it's something completely made up by Republicans.
She has a huge community, so it may influence young people, but she do it in the right way. I think 35,000 people registered to vote when she said it in her Instagram.
To actually have someone re-elected would be a bit of a stretch to me. I mean, of course, she can be a front for some political views, or maybe she can help spread her own political views.
I think I'd take their opinion into account of I don't know. I think style and stuff, but I wouldn't listen to political opinions or anything like that.
I think they can have a really huge impact, especially on the youth.
In terms of Taylor Swift and things like that, who she's going to actually influence apart from youngsters.
Okay, let's bring in our guest now. And we're joined by Jennifer Ewing from Republicans Overseas, who's here in London. And joining us from Washington, D.C., we have Todd Webster, a Democratic political consultant. Welcome to the program, both of you. You've both seen the Seth Meyers interview with Joe Biden. And one of the big talking points, if you like, put quite humorously by Seth Meyers, was that a new poll suggests that 1 in 5 Americans believe the government is using Taylor Swift in a covert operation to get Biden re-elected. Todd?
Well, I suspect that 20% of Americans are Donald Trump's base. He has peddled a variety of conspiracy theories, including the theory that Barack Obama, the former president, was born in Kenya. So I suspect that is another fantasy. I think, but to pick on Taylor Swift and to pick on the NFL, I think is to do yourself a political disservice because they're both enormously popular.
And would there need to be a psyop as such, or they just use them out in the open, can't they? They use their celebrity to leverage their campaign.
100%. And I mean, I'm sure the Biden campaign would welcome Taylor Swift's endorsement, but if Republicans are going to twist themselves in knots fearing that this is some kind of a psychological operation, then so be it.
Jennifer, Todd suggesting that conspiracy theories are the sort of the area for Republicans only. A bit unfair?
I mean, I do think it's a bit unfair. I have to agree with Todd on this Taylor Swift issue, however, because look, Taylor Swift is great. The NFL is great. I think it's very sort of low-hanging fruit if people did grab onto this and think this was some way in which President Biden could re-win the election. If they're counting on Taylor Swift to do it for him, then they're in more trouble than we thought. With regards to conspiracy theories, I mean, usually I think that's a word that's used when people want to shut up the other side. But, you know, whether we go to the Russian hoax or, you know, a lot of different things that have been put against Donald Trump, I think you could say they've been used on both sides.
Okay. Just on the cultural power. Oh, do come in, Todd. Yep.
Well, I mean, I think it is inarguable the fetish that Donald Trump has for Vladimir Putin when given the opportunity to strike back against Putin. Donald Trump is courting him. Tucker Carlson is courting Vladimir Putin, and I think it is dangerous for the United States and for our allies in NATO that a former president and a potential future president, Donald Trump, is so enamored of with one of our geopolitical rivals. That should be disconcerting to our friends in Britain. It should be disconcerting and concerning to Americans and to everybody in our NATO alliance. That is a dangerous and a scary prospect.
Jennifer.
Well, put aside the fact that Putin has basically said he'd prefer Biden, I think it's very interesting that during the Trump presidency, we had no new wars. We had basically 3 years of peace and prosperity until COVID. And, you know, President Putin did not go into Ukraine during the time President Trump was, you know, in office.
Todd, you mentioned Tucker Carlson there and how he's, well, from your perspective, was essentially sucking up to Vladimir Putin, giving him softball questions, letting him answer at will, and so on. Can I just ask you, from an outsider's perspective, when we watch people like Seth Meyers bring on Joe Biden and joke about classified documents and give him softball questions, and you know, it's just, for us, for outsiders seeing that, it's the same sort of propaganda. It's basically a liberal talk show host who favors the Democrats, allowing Biden to appear sharper, more fluent than he really is, and giving him no challenge whatsoever.
Well, I think any politician worth his or her salt would choose media outlets where they can convey their message to the American people. Donald Trump does that with his friend Sean Hannity, a popular right-wing radio host. You know, he goes on Fox News and One America and the whole variety of conservative and right-wing outlets, and that's his right and his domain, right? It's a free country. We have a First Amendment, and he can choose any media outlet that he can. Similarly, Joe Biden can go on whatever outlet that he wants, whether it's Seth Meyers or any other show, to communicate directly with the American people.
So the interview was designed, I think, and quite choreographed to make him look sharper and more aware than he really is. And when he was asked by Seth Meyers, what is his program for 2024, he then answered like this.
What's your 2024 agenda? Because I feel like we live in such crazy times that is one of the things I feel we hear less about.
Look, the 2020 agenda is to finish the job.
Todd, do you think he really pulled it off with the Seth Meyers interview?
Look, Joe Biden will go down and is currently one of the most consequential presidents that we have had in the last 60 years. He has had enormous legislative accomplishments, from the American Rescue Plan, getting us out of a once-in-a-century pandemic, the bipartisan infrastructure law that he passed, the CHIPS and Science semiconductor law that he passed. He has had the biggest climate package that the world has ever seen. So he will go down as the most consequential president in the last 60 years since Lyndon Johnson. Sorry, let me just finish the point. He's fond of saying, compare me to the alternative, not to the almighty. And when you compare Joe Biden to Donald Trump, what the world has seen from Donald Trump during his 4 years, what the country, Donald Trump put the country through for 4 years, that choice is stark and it's dramatic, and Joe Biden will win in November because of the choice that Americans will have.
Jennifer Ewing, I think you could probably agree he's been a highly consequential president, but for you, the consequences have been entirely negative.
I mean, I believe so, and I think that's a policy difference between Todd and I, and between the Republicans and Democrats. I don't think people, if you ask them the question, is your life better off today than it was 4 years ago, would say, yes, it is. And that's why more and more people are probably, even though it's so unbelievable, are leaning more towards voting for Donald Trump. I mean, even in Michigan last night, you had 16% agree to vote uncommitted in the Democrat side rather than for President Biden. And that is because of his policies. And Michigan is important because it's one of the 6 sort of battleground states.
Todd, just a question for both of you, actually. Not Taylor Swift in particular, but in American politics, what is the power of the superstar to sway elections?
In my experience, it's very limited. I mean, to the extent that the only impact that Taylor Swift is having right now is to be rattling around inside Donald Trump's head. At the end of the day, celebrities don't sway Americans in their political decisions. If they did, then John Kerry would have beaten George Bush in 2004, because John Kerry had Dave Matthews and Bruce Springsteen and John Bon Jovi and all kinds of celebrities behind him, and he didn't win. So I think they're very, very marginal. It's fun to talk about them. Celebrity is important in American culture, but in terms of political impact, it's de minimis.
Jennifer?
Once again, I agree with Todd, and I don't think it's that important. Otherwise, another example would be Hillary Clinton. You know, she brought out Beyonce, and she lost to Donald Trump. So I think the, celebrities, they get a vote if they're American citizens, just like the rest of us do. So it's one person, one vote. I don't think anybody matters more than anybody else, and that's the beauty of a democracy.
Stay with us for a moment. We're going to take a look at this new poll now, which came out this week. 48% of Democrat voters support the idea of Biden being replaced as their presidential candidate. And guess who they want to replace him? Well, here are the runners and riders.
In at 5 is Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. At 52 years old, she's the youngest of the bunch, but only 9% are backing her. You may remember she was the target of an attempted kidnapping a couple of years ago.
2 militia groups who are preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me.
At number 4, it's the slick governor of California, Gavin Newsom. The 56-year-old has always denied running for president, but many believe he is actually running a shadow campaign just in case Biden quits due to ill health. He's polling at 11%.
Are you considering running for president in 2024?
No, and no.
In at 3, it's Hillary Clinton, and 12% say they'd like to see her in a rematch with Donald Trump.
Would you ever run for president again? No.
But at 76, she's only 1 year younger than Trump and has her own health issues.
Let's watch this video for a second.
At 2, the current Vice President, Kamala Harris. The 59-year-old is the least popular Veep since records began, but is still on a relatively healthy 15% amongst Democrat voters.
I love Venn diagrams.
Which brings us to the top spot, and drum roll please. In first place is America's most popular woman, Michelle Obama.
What's going to happen in this next election? I am terrified about what could possibly happen.
The 60-year-old mother of 2 was America's first lady between 2009 and 17, but has never held elected office. She's on 20% though, beating all the other candidates. But is still second to this one last option. None of the above.
The power of the people's vote. And I think the people should use it to vote for them.
That's right, 27% of Democrats don't want any of these candidates to be Biden's replacement if he doesn't run.
I was going to put him...
Back to our guest now, and Todd Webster. So nearly half of Democrats want him replaced. Is that going to happen?
No, it's not going to happen. Joe Biden will be the Democratic candidate on the ballot with Kamala Harris as his running mate. Michelle Obama, a dynamic, a wonderful person, but there is no more likelihood that Michelle Obama will be the next president than that Sherry Blair will be the next prime minister of England.
Yeah, let's hope not.
Joe Biden is the candidate. He's got an incredible record to run on, and people are excited about his candidacy, and he will win re-election in November.
Jennifer, Todd is saying people are excited about Biden's campaign, and he's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to hear that because I don't think the Republicans would want to run against Michelle Obama. We'd much prefer to run against Biden and Harris. So that's great news.
And are there any circumstances in which Biden might pull out? Obviously, the machinations of the Democrat process are over with, but ill health, I mean, he could pull out with ill health.
People focus on Joe Biden's age. Donald Trump is only about 3 years younger. He is obese. He is in poor health, and he has trouble remembering his wife's name. So
no, he doesn't, you see. I just looked it up today, and according to Snopes, when he said Mercedes at the CPAC conference, he was referring to the wife of the organizer, and so they've dispelled that. I wouldn't say it was a conspiracy theory, Todd, but they've dispelled it.
He has mangled any number of contexts over the years, and the fact is that he is only about 3 years younger than Biden. They're both up there.
Biden's 81, and Trump is still playing golf very well.
And Trump is morbidly obese. Joe Biden is fit as a fiddle. You put them both in a bathing suit. Who would you rather look at in a pair of swim trunks?
Jennifer Ewing?
Look, I don't think what we're talking about here is age per se. It's cognitive ability. And there's no way you can compare President Biden to former President Trump. There's just, it's very, very different.
To be fair, we're actually discussing who would be a good candidate of the others. So Kamala Harris, Michelle Obama. If the worst should happen, God forbid, but who would you think is the strongest opponent for Trump out of that crowd?
Out of that crowd, yeah. I mean, Michelle Obama is obviously the one that the Gallup poll said has the 20% favorability, I think, followed, by Hillary Clinton. And then further down the road, you've got Kamala Harris. And then you've got actually what I would consider to be the real contenders, which would be the governor of my home state, which is Gavin Newsom, who's basically been running a shadow campaign, I think, for the last year. Perhaps he's preparing for 2028, or Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. Those two, I think, are the more serious candidates. I don't think Michelle Obama's got a pretty great life, and I don't know why she'd want to give that up. But we certainly do not want to run against her. So if it is Biden-Harris, that's good news.
Well, I would agree with Jennifer that some of the governors, Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker from Illinois, strong bench. Wes Moore, the dynamic young governor of Maryland, maybe needs a little more seasoning, but the Democrats have an incredibly capable bench.
Well, Todd Webster, Jennifer Ewing, thank you both. Thank you. Let's turn to the race to be the Republican candidate now, and as you know, there are just two contestants left, Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. Last weekend, the former president defeated his opponent in her home state of South Carolina.
I said earlier this week that no matter what happens in South Carolina, I would continue to run for president. I'm a woman of my word.
An even bigger win than we anticipated, and I was just informed that we got double the number of votes that has ever been received in the great state of South Carolina. So that's pretty good.
Well, Trump remains well ahead in the polls as they prepare for Super Tuesday, when all of these 15 states and one territory, American Samoa, hold their primaries. California and Texas, of course, have the most delegates by far. Okay, let's discuss what's likely to happen. Jennifer Nassour, who is Nikki Haley's campaign chairperson in the state of Massachusetts. And also with us, we have Donald Trump's favorite author, apparently, and Republican political commentator, Nick Adams. Welcome to both of you. Jennifer, if I may start with you, thanks for coming back. Now, last week, polls were predicting, that Nikki Haley would be beaten by Trump in her own state by something like 30 points. Turned out it was 20 points. Are you happy? Are you deflated?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me back on. I think she defied expectations and she overperformed. The problem that I see more so is the fact that Trump continues to underperform. And where you see that Nikki Haley got almost 40% of the vote there, that's 40% of Republican voters in a Republican primary. We only have two parties in this country. So if you break it down and you say 50% vote with one and 50% vote with the other, and 40% are saying that they don't want Donald Trump, that means there's a gigantic block of voters that are saying, we don't want Donald Trump. So that spells some trouble for Trump going down the line.
Nick Adams, Jennifer's put a pretty nice spin on it for Nikki Haley.
Matthew, I don't know that I've heard so much nonsense dressed up so nicely. Look, I think Donald Trump has shown his incredible dominance. He absolutely took Nikki Haley to Pound Town yesterday in Michigan. This is her 5th straight loss. She's shown that she can't read a room. She's shown that she's not particularly bright. She's shown that really she's only in this to damage Donald Trump at this point. And I think it's a very sad state of affairs when the most pressing need in the country right now is for Joe Biden to lose, to be evicted from the White House, that we've got Nikki Haley delaying the inevitable, which is Donald Trump winning this nomination, and Donald Trump beating Joe Biden in November, which he's going to do handily, Matthew, because the people don't just not want Joe Biden, the people want Donald Trump. They want to go back to the success and prosperity of the first Trump term. And let me tell you, the second one, Matthew, is only going to be better.
Jennifer, come in.
The only thing that I agree with that Nick said was that Americans don't want Joe Biden. But you know what Americans also don't want? 70% of Americans do not want another Trump-Biden showdown. 60% of Americans think both Biden and Trump are too old to be president. In addition to that, I love this spin about the prosperity of the Trump administration. Look, we can look in the rearview mirror all we want, and that's all you could do when you're an 80-year-old man, is look in the rearview mirror and say, look at what I was able to do. But here's what he wasn't able to do. And here's what Nikki will do, because she's young and she has a forward positive vision. So Donald Trump said he was going to drain the swamp. He never drained the swamp. And as a matter of fact, all the swamp creatures now came back to kiss the ring because they want to stay in the swamp. That's number one. Number two, he had both houses of Congress when he was president in 2016, 17, 18. He did nothing to get a comprehensive immigration reform bill passed. Instead, he struck an executive order, which of course was changed as the second that Biden became president. Number three, and most importantly, is that Trump added on over $8 trillion, that's trillion with a T, dollars to our debt. That is not a conservative principle. That is not good fiscal management. And Donald Trump, the only thing that he's good at is bankruptcy.
Bit of a tough time he was going through, though, with COVID, don't you think, Nick Adams?
Look, Matthew, I will defend President Trump's record any day of the week, and I'll put his record up against Nikki Haley's as governor any day of the week. I believe that Donald Trump is the greatest president that we've ever had. I believe that, and you don't have to believe me, you can just ask the voters in the last 5 states what they think, but people remember the low gas prices, they remember the lack of inflation, they remember their pocketbooks being much healthier.
All right.
They remember their retirement plans being much healthier.
Let me just tip it forward to Super Tuesday. Nick, what do you think is going to happen? It's a really big day.
Donald Trump, it is a very big day. Donald Trump is absolutely going to pulverize, annihilate, and crush Nikki Haley in a way that he's done the last 5 times. Nothing's going to change. I'd be surprised if she even wins a single state. We are talking about an American icon. We are talking about a once-in-a-generation Churchillian-type leader. And Nikki Haley, in comparison, simply pales into the oblivion. She's
Jennifer,
just
your predictions?
another politician.
Jennifer, your predictions for Super Tuesday?
I think Nick is confusing Donald Trump with Sylvester Stallone as Rocky right behind him. This is not an American icon. Look, if Donald Trump was an American icon, he would have won in 2020. But instead, under Donald Trump, we lost races in 2018, we lost races in 2020, and we lost again in 2022 when he put out endorsements against candidates that could win. So here's what I see. There are 874 delegates up for stake on Super Tuesday. We have 21 states that still have huge blocks of voters that are coming in the next couple of weeks. The number at the end of the day is getting 15 delegates. In 1976, Ronald Reagan hung in there until the convention, and it went to the convention floor for a vote. There is no way Nikki Haley is getting out of this. She has the donors, she's raising more money than Donald Trump, and she has the organization.
Jennifer, Nick, thank you both very much for your contributions today. Really appreciate it. And thank you at home and on your phones for watching. If you want to see this episode or any of our previous episodes, do go to our channel on YouTube. Just type in Nexus TRT World. Till next week then, goodbye.